I'm coming from European Broadcasting Union, which is, most people have no idea what it is. So it's world's leading organization of public service media. It consists of 112 member organizations, and at this point, most people already got confused. Okay, what are those? So just to give you a couple of examples, it's like BBC, Deutsche Welle, Deutschland Radio, Bavarian Rundfunk, and many others. They're located all across Europe, also with some members in not in Europe, like Japan, US, Canada, and so on. And its goal is to promote and support public service media in things like spectrum, different standards, politics, legal things, and to facilitate collaboration. Also, it runs things like news exchange. So if you're consuming some news, which probably you do to some extent, most likely it's going through this news exchange, which is hosted by EBU. Also sports exchange, and things that probably the most commonly known is Eurovision Song Contest, and VFF, and many other things. And now let's talk about digital shift. So we had this slide in our slide deck for the past probably 7 years, just to persuade broadcasters that the old way you're doing things, more like linear approach, is not really working any longer, and you need to focus more on kind of personalized experience and kind of move to digital. So main difference is like different focus, which is not channel or brand, but more like user-centric. Content is also not the same for everyone. You can either take it or leave it, but it's more personalized, so everyone has something for themselves. It's also a very different culture and mindset, so like we know what our audience wants, but with digital, it's like I know what I want. It's like also completely different user experience. And it was very old slides that we had, but is it even more relevant any longer? So we did some research at EBU and found out that actually it's not really relevant anymore. Public service media is pretty much there already. If you look at availability of video on demand players, 100% of European broadcasters, at least according to 39 that were surveyed, 100% of them has present online on the web. 97% has mobile device applications for streaming, and significant majority has also TV applications like HBB TV, Smart TV, and so on. And we can think, okay, that's fairly recent stuff, but if we look at broader picture, like historical, it has been going on for quite a while, and in fact, all this like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, and whatever, they have been pretty recent compared to public service media with their video on demand platforms. So like we can see mid-2000s is majority of players already had something in Europe, like BBC iPlayer, ZDF MediaTek, or RD MediaTek, and a lot of other ones. Maybe they were not yet at the level as we know now, but they were constantly evolving. There is still issue with fragmentation. Also, if you look at number of application in like Play Store or Apple Store for public service media, most of them has more than 1 or 2 applications, which can create quite a different and fragmented experience. Often, like each channel will have their own application or different kind of service, which is, quite different from, let's say, Netflix, where you have one app for everything. And if you look what kind of content available on those video on demand players is, we can see 2020 and 2022, and it's, let's say, slowly we can see how it's evolving from mainly catch up to having online first presence. And then another important topic is single sign-on. In the past, like 5-7 years ago, most broadcasters were like, okay, why do we need single sign-on? Like, it's more like you just come there if you miss some TV show, but it kind of kept changing, and now most broadcasters have some way to have logging, so just to know better who you are, to serve you better. And we can see like 73% actually has some kind of SSO already, and it is becoming a norm. If people want it or not, but it's usually for the sake of audience. Another benefit of single sign-on that if broadcaster can know audience better, they can provide some extra benefits for them just to make experience a bit more personalized. So recommendations is a very big thing, and we can see that for on-demand video platforms, 63% of them has some kind of personalization in place, which I think is pretty good number. It keeps growing, of course, and also a very good thing for me to see is that in the past it used to be like all the broadcasters just think of it as some optional feature that, yeah, okay, it's just recommendations, let's outsource it to some third party, and they just, we give them data, they give us some recommendations to display, and we're good. But yeah, that's not a good idea, because you want to be, as public broadcasters, kind of in control of what you display and kind of how you promote your content, to whom, how users discover your content. It's part of your brand, and it's very important. Just like maybe how typical recommendation system flow goes. I mean, there are a lot of details, of course, but we can kind of have 5 main points, which is data collection. We want to collect information about users, what they do. It's like things like, oh, hey, I'm this user, I started watching this media at this time, that's that's time of the day for me, and so on and so on. Then exploration, so we have all this data, and next step, we want to be able to kind of get some insights based on the data. Data scientists load data, just kind of learn user patterns. Eventually, they can build some machine learning models, which can predict what user might like and what should be displayed to the user. And next step is, okay, it's good to build this model once, but next step is to build it quite constantly, because the moment you build your machine learning model, it's probably old, because it's a very dynamic world where we, in the past half an hour, we already got new users, a lot of new content, a lot of new interactions, so we learned something new. So we need to keep like retraining and then training those models. Next step is to deliver the model, typically in the form of API call. Client, like mobile device or web user, just comes and say, oh, hey, I'm this user, please recommend me something, or I'm watching this item right now, can you give me something related? And yeah, it's all good, but we need to monitor how our models perform. Like, do users get relevant recommendations? Do we kind of help to surface all our content? Is it accurate enough, and so on? I think Andreas previously covered this topic a little bit about what kind of metrics we can be interested in. And here I wanted to introduce you to PEACH, which is a data science platform which is developed by EBU together with some other European broadcasters. We can see like kind of main kind of components of it. It has one site which is everything related to single sign-on, social logins, history, playlist, GDPR manager, and so on. And the rest is data science platform, which focuses more on building the models, working with data, and so on. And there are a couple of benefits compared to, let's say, commercial solutions or building your own solution. So the first one is collaborative power. This system is developed in collaboration with multiple European broadcasters. So it has like seen quite a lot of different things, different use cases, so it's kind of able to generalize well. It also has a community of like-minded people, and it encourages sharing some insights and best practices. It's very kind of friendly, because most European broadcasters are not competitors. They're like working on their separate markets. So they all benefit from sharing knowledge and use cases and best practices. And it also, PEACH serves as shared learning hub for knowledge exchange. Another one is flexibility and modularity. It has modular design that caters to diverse needs. It can be utilized independently or seamlessly integrated with all the other components of PEACH. It's very customizable. As we could see, it works for different organizations, and there are different roles in those organizations that use it. And it's a valuable resource for data scientists, analysts, journalists, editors, and a lot of other profiles in organization that can ensure relevance across all the departments in public service media. So right now, PEACH is integrated as a recommendation provider in 8 European broadcasters that fosters a cohesive and standardized approach for data science and recommendations. And it also helps, like, kind of big scale, helps to streamline operations and enhances efficiency. So right now, it's implemented in RTE in Ireland, UR, Educative Broadcaster in Sweden, a Swedish radio in Sweden, RD Audiotech, TG4 in Ireland, RTP in Portugal, LRT in Lithuania, and currently being integrated with Deutschland Radio. So, as I mentioned, there's a lot of data that we ingest and process. And right now, it's like around 500 million data points every month. And all this data is a very great source for building recommender engines, doing analytics, data-driven decision-making. It also enables broadcasters to gain insight into user behavior, content preferences, and how the platform performs. It's also a proven track record. We deliver around 150 million recommendations per month, and it can show platform's effectiveness, stability, and reliability. And it's also trusted by all these broadcasters for performance, constant innovation, and impact on user engagement. Like, we're always trying to stay kind of on top of, ahead of all the kind of interesting solutions, state-of-the-art algorithm exploration, and so on. And just to show a couple of examples of integration, how kind of it looks for the end users. So that could be example from TG4. I don't speak Gaelic, sadly, but that's example where somebody can see, oh, hey, show me a bit more of that. This one is for news service in Lithuania. They also have English version, so it's a bit easier to see. The article talks about tax breaks for film production, and once you finish reading, like, okay, let's see what we have a bit more on the same topic, just to kind of get a bit different side of things. So we can see Lithuania to give tax breaks to big businesses and so on. So you kind of want to dive deeper in the same topic. That's from UR in Sweden. It's like recommendations for you based on my previous history, just trying to suggest something that I might like with a bit of kind of, novelty goal. This one is from Audiotech, where you can see there's some documentary podcast about Banksy, kind of the artist, and later you can see something a bit more on the same topic. Like, first will be about Banksy himself, but then generally a bit about art, like art graffiti, so not directly about Banksy, but probably that's something that will interest you as well. We also have a tool for kind of visually exploring the output of the algorithm, because it's usually not a good idea if you develop something new, just, oh, let's show it to the old users. First, you want to be able to show it, like, to kind of visually see, okay, is it good, is it not good, should we move on with it, or it's complete rubbish, and it will, let's say, make many users sad after seeing it. And if you want to feel a bit fancy and look at all the million graphs kind of around you, we also have a bunch of tools, like all the dashboards that can help to understand how it performs, what kind of activity there is, what is displayed to the user, and so on. That's, for example, A/B testing, which is another thing kind of to be able to compare multiple algorithms in production. Say you have a new algorithm that you think, okay, it should be good enough. So instead of showing it to everyone, let's start with displaying it only to 5–10% of the users. So if it's performing worse, we can always switch it back. Another option here is to kind of have bandit algorithms, which can kind of do it dynamically instead of just saying, no, it's not working well, let's stop the test. Yeah, of course, metrics like diversity, what kind of content we're surfacing, how many users see it, yeah, what percentage of users click, and so on. So a couple of conclusions: that algorithms are important, but they're only a fraction of the whole personalization journey, and probably 10–20% of all the effort. There are a lot of other things, like You need to collect data at scale from all the platforms, process data, have task workflow to retrain models all the time, to deliver recommendations in scalable and efficient way. Possibility